We are back in studio. It's been a long time. Well, 7 days a week. But we are back. Good morning. Welcome to Garden America.
8 days a week.
And there's John's phone feeding back again. Shades of my laptop a few years ago. Are we good, John?
How he keeps
this is
pushing
funny.
buttons on the screen when it's on the side of the phone.
I can edit this out for the network, but Facebook Live, you're going to get what you're going to get live here. John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox.
You missed my comment about 8 days a week.
John and his phone. Yeah, I know. You give a comment about 8 days a week, and then it's all swallowed up by your phone.
I'm sorry. I
feeding
apologize.
Back. That's okay. Where are we? What am I doing? I don't even know where to go from here. I guess
morning.
John. I guess
Good
for
morning.
John, it's been a hard day's night. So there you go. But anyway, welcome, friends. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to those on Biz Talk Radio, listening to last week's show. John is anxious to get started, so I'm going to toss to you.
You know what I planted yesterday?
Ooh.
Of course you don't, but I planted a whole bunch of stuff, by the bathroom door.
Eggplant.
Yes.
You planted eggplant.
No eggplant. It's too late for eggplant.
I know, but I figured you're going to try anyway.
I planted a snow bush because that's one of
Ooh.
Shannon's favorite
Nice.
plants. I planted a Tahitian gardenia.
Now, wait a minute. Snowbush Brania?
Yeah,
Brania?
yeah.
Okay. And a what? Tahitian
Gardenia. Gardenia titensis.
Titensis.
Yeah, which is the largest flowered
Gardenia?
gardenia, and it gets to be like 6-7 feet tall.
So is
Big,
that,
huge leaves.
So there's, I know the classic gardenias, and then there is that,
Vietnamensis.
is it the African gardenia that's more hardy that they usually graft? You know when you find
Right,
grafted?
right.
That's the African rootstock
Right.
with like vechi, blah, blah,
Right.
blah on top. So where does this Tahitian one come into play?
It's extremely tender.
Oh, so it's not like the African.
Right.
Okay.
So I planted, I think the African is Gardenia thunbergii, right?
Yes, you're right now.
So I planted it near the house. I figure that's the only chance it's going to have.
We'll see this winter.
and
This
we'll
winter will
see
be
what
the big
happens.
test, right?
Yeah.
Because it's fine in the summer months. It's shaded, protected, all that. But it's going to be the cold in the winter that's going to be the big test.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what are you going to do to protect it?
Go out
Just
there
put,
and
I
hug
put
it.
it by the house.
Go out there and hug it at night when it gets
That's it.
real
If it
cold.
can't live next to the
Yeah.
house, forget it.
He's going to have a smudge pot right there in that bed. I'm shocked the Brania will also. I feel like that's borderline out there.
You
as
know,
well with
when
the
I
cold.
lived at my other house,
Yeah.
over on Pepper Tree in Fallbrook, we had a Brainy outdoors that was on the back hill and did fine.
I love those. They're pink and green and white, Brian. It's a really cool bush to incorporate in.
foliage, yeah.
And the cool thing too is they can go in the shade where you don't get those light colors all the time. Normally shade is all green, dark green,
gives you the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
Brania,
one I had my old house was in full sun.
cool.
And in Hawaii, they're in full sun too.
Did it get bleached out at all? Sometimes they get burned in the full sun.
No, this one was fine.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah. And then my order came from Shiners.
Ooh.
It's for daylilies. So I planted 5 daylilies yesterday.
You need to not.
Still have another box. to
What day
plant.
did they come in?
They came in Thursday.
When you get things within a few days of the show, you need to save it, and we can
Yes.
do like an unboxing here at the show because we know you're not going to remember to do it at home. So
Yeah, the
that's why I
unboxing,
said,
I like that
That's what I
idea.
say. Like,
I could have brought it in. They're still in their box.
Yeah,
They're
see,
sitting
that's
on
what
the
I'm saying.
patio.
Like I know John's the kind of guy who's like, I'm not going to remember to video me opening that box or whatever it is.
No,
but I
no.
think people would enjoy that. So next
Carolyn
time,
would like you to repeat the name of the gardenia you planted.
Tahitian.
Yeah, it's Tahitian gardenia. It's Gardenia titensis. And if you look up Tahitian gardenia, I think you'll find it.
Do you think it would be perfectly okay where I live?
Should be.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's more you're just on that cold cusp there. But
Right.
where I live, I'll be
Right.
fine. And then definitely along the coast, it's okay.
And then I planted some roses,
Nice.
about half a dozen roses, and all these are in that one bed.
Okay.
And then Shannon, about 6 weeks ago, got some vincas that I put in one flat, and finally I started planting the second
Does
flat.
she ever just go out and buy things without telling you and bring them home
All
and
the
say,
time.
plant these?
All the time, yes.
You have no idea they're coming.
She doesn't even say plant these. She just sets them near where
Right.
where she wants them.
Whether
that's
they're
pretty much true.
whether they're practical or not,
Right.
or there's any place to even put them,
Right.
right?
And I also planted 2 Alstroemeria, the Aztec. Is it Aztec series or Inca series? One of those.
One of those
One of
indigenous
those
South
yeah,
that have to do with pyramids.
Yeah, exactly.
But she bought 3 Alstroemeria from Rogers Gardens
Okay.
when she was up there.
When was she
And-
up there? This week?
She was up there a month ago.
Oh.
So one I planted right away, and then I finally planted the other 2, which looked like they were dead. And I think someone might have made a comment, oh, now that they're dead, you're planting them. I might have just imagined that. I don't know. But when I took them out of the container, you've seen Alstroemeria roots, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're huge
Yeah.
and thick, and so they'll come back. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Did you see what your daughter wrote?
What did my daughter write?
Uh-oh.
Good morning, all. Spotted some trees starting to turn, and the geese are starting to fly. Do they know
Ooh.
something I don't? It's still summer, right?
Ooh. What is it? September 22nd? It's still is the last day of summer?
No. The autumnal equinox is next week, right?
Oh, is that right?
I think
Yeah.
so, right?
So that's next week's the last day of summer, first day of
Maybe
autumn.
So
Maybe
yeah,
it's
the
August
geese
22nd.
do know something. They know the calendar.
Yeah.
Hey, boys, time to go south.
Yeah. I wonder if they track that stuff where they will go earlier or later certain years, or is it always the same time?
I know they fly by the Earth's magnetic field, right? Isn't that how a lot of birds gauge where they're going?
Yeah.
When we first started the show, we used to do it by the seat of our pants.
Right. That didn't last long, though, did it? Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at flowers that, when the weather gets hot and cold and they start to bloom and then they go back, I mean, the plant material is going by the weather.
Right. Well, it has to,
It's
right?
warm, so I
Yeah.
guess I better bloom, even though it's not the right time of the year. The
Yeah.
weather's telling me to do so. So when it comes to birds, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, we've mentioned also how sometimes plants will treat summer like winter.
Right,
Yep.
right.
If you're in a real hot area like Palm Springs
Yep.
area where it gets so hot the plants just go dormant in the summer. And same thing for parts of Idaho, but I don't know if they can recuperate enough to do something before winter.
I was trying to, it's funny. I was trying to explain that same thing to one of the customers this week because she has these Salvia leucantha Mexican sage.
Yeah.
And they just weren't looking that great. Summertime. And
Right. Peak it,
They
a
were-
little peak it.
yeah, they were watering them and fertilizing them, and they just weren't looking that great. And I'm like, well, it's one of those plants. Salvias are one of those plants that, they're native to areas where in the summer it's really hot and dry, so they don't usually try to do real well in the summer months. And but in the fall they're going to look beautiful. And then she goes, yeah, but down the street my neighbors look great. I'm like,
Right.
yeah.
How many times have you heard that,
All
right?
right, my
Well, here's one. I've got 5 or 6 of these. This is the only one that's not looking well. They're not.
Yeah.
The rest of them look fine. Well, yeah, there's 10 people there. One guy's sick, and the rest are fine. They're like people. I mean, it's going to be different. You're doing everything right. So we got to get to John's quote of the week, and then talk about our guest today.
Yeah, we're
who
talking
happens
with-
to be Kim Rupert, right?
Yeah, and he's going to be helpmefind.com.
Helpmefind.com.
We want to bring awareness to the helpmefind.com webpage and what they do.
So,
That'll
John,
be
with that in
interesting.
mind?
Yeah, today's quote was from H.L. Mencken, Brian, and he said, "An idealist is one who, on noticing that roses smell better than a cabbage, concludes that it will also make better soup."
When's the last time you had cabbage?
We have one in our refrigerator right now. And you know what? They last
They
a long
last a long time.
They
in
last
the
a long
fridge.
time because it's been there at least 6 weeks.
Well, good luck with that. How are you going to incorporate that into a meal?
Babe Ruth used to put a cabbage
talk-
leaf on his head. Do you remember that?
Yeah, to keep cool, right?
Yeah.
Because it was so hot.
Yeah,
And they wore cotton uniforms back then, too.
yeah. Yeah, you remember that.
Yeah. No, but can you imagine the humidity in the summertime?
I remember going to my Uncle Joe's home when I was little, and on his mantle he had a baseball autographed by Babe Ruth.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought your uncle was Joe DiMaggio.
No.
Well, Babe Ruth died in 1948.
Did he really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the year before I was born.
Mm-hmm. Just to give you kind of a timeline. Speaking of timelines, we've got to take a break to stay on time for our good friends on Biz Talk Radio. So with that in mind, we're going to take a break. Thank you for tuning in, Biz Talk Radio, listening to this pre-recorded show. In the meantime, for those on Facebook Live, we're going to get a hold of our guest and to bring on Kim Rupert after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Welcome to Garden America. All right, thank you for putting up with that break. Hopefully a good break for you, whether it was on Biz Talk Radio or Facebook Live. We are back. It is Garden America kicking off your weekend. I'm Brian Main. John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. We got John's quote of the week out of the way, our monologue for the day, and that means it's time to turn things over to Tiger. Bring on today's guest, Kim Rupert. Tiger?
Yeah, this morning we're chatting with Kim Rupert, a volunteer at helpmefind.com. And Kim, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Now you volunteer with the website, and helpmefind.com covers a few different things. But I want to ask you a little bit about your backstory. How did you get involved with Help Me Find?
Oh, way back in 2000, a friend out in the desert, another rose breeder friend, Robert Rupert, started really pestering me that I had to get on this site because it was just too much. And so I finally did, and then was interviewed by them in 2000 and saw that it was something that really needed help and was really worth supporting. So I've been volunteering and playing with the site for 23 years now.
Oh, wow. So was it started 23 years ago, or how long ago was it started before you got involved?
It had started 3 years before I got involved.
Okay.
It was founded in 1997 by an avid and enthusiastic rose gardener and a computer software engineer.
Oh, and who were they?
Well, actually, they wish to remain unnamed.
Got it.
Because they want to remain in the background. They said that the website's about the rose and peony and clematis, and by remaining anonymous, it helps them avoid any perceived bias toward any individuals, organizations, or countries.
There you go.
That's the way we feel here at Garden America, Kim. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, did they always have the clematis and peonies as well, or did it just start off with just roses?
It started off with roses. The clematis and peonies were added, I'm not sure how long ago. It hasn't been that long.
Uh-huh. And so give us a little bit of a rundown of what helpmefind.com is.
Helpmefind.com is the most remarkable collection of rose and other clematis and peony information anywhere, period. Over 160,000 photos, information, all the information available on over 44,000 roses, photos donated by growers around the world, so you have a good chance of being able to see living color images of what to expect it to do in your garden. If you're interested in what made the rose, you can find out what any known parentage is. If you have an idea to use it for breeding, you can see if it's been used, either as a seed parent or a pollen parent. You can see pictures of what it's made, pictures of what made it. Connect with people around the world who are also interested in roses and breeding roses, collecting roses, photographing roses.
Yeah, I mean, so, the great thing about this is on our modern platforms of the internet, if you had I'm just going to use a real general name right now, Double Delight Rose, eventually that Double Delight Rose goes out of fad, and the websites that used to sell it or have information on it are going to go away, and you're going to lose that information, that knowledge. The Help Me Find now supplements that, because you guys specialize in not just the common roses, but the most exotic, most rare, where somebody can go on there, post that they have this rose, they have it in their garden, here's a picture of it, and they can share their information if they want, or they don't have to. But then if somebody was to come along and be like you yourself came in as a breeder and goes, ooh, I've been looking for that rose, you can contact them. You can try to get budwood. You can talk to them about possibly breeding it, or, just anything, because, that's the goal, is to connect people. And then because it's on the internet, you're connecting people worldwide. So, this isn't just, do people have this in the United States? We're talking people all across the world that are going to share their information, share their roses, share their peonies, clematis, all that kind of stuff. And in a day where our options are so limited, when you go into a marketplace now for plants, there's very limited options. This gives people that almost never-ending plethora of plants out there. And sometimes there's even people, you're connecting people. I don't know if they're selling them from the Help Me Find, but there's definitely ways to connect people if they're looking for these plants, right, Kim?
Right. They're not selling from Help Me Find.
Yeah.
And you are limited as far as what you're able to import from other countries. But there is still the information available, as well as the friendships.
Mm-hmm. There are lists of nurseries on Help Me Find that you can click on, and you can go and see what they have available. So is Kim saying if you're in the U.S., you can find U.S. nurseries that may be selling that particular rose?
Yeah.
Right.
And Kim, your background as a rose breeder, I mean, isn't this such a wonderful resource for you?
It's an outrageous resource. Frequently on forums, the rose hybridizers, house, you name it, you'll see questions. Has anyone used this rose? Has anybody been able to raise anything from it? If you're a premium member on Help Me Find, you can go in and you can see what's been raised using its pollen, what's been raised using it as a seed parent. So if someone else has had success with it and reported it, that information is there. Of course, if there isn't any information, it doesn't mean it won't work. It just means that nobody has reported use from it.
Mm-hmm.
Kim just mentioned something. He mentioned premium member.
Yeah.
What is a premium member? And you just said that there was no advertising on Help Me Find. So, do you have to pay to use the site?
You don't have to pay to use the site, but to be able to access everything, you need to be a premium member. And a premium member costs a whole $24 a year.
Oh, my goodness.
See, that's $2 a month.
Less than the price of a designer coffee a month.
Yeah.
For the priceless information that you receive.
Exactly.
And now, let's hit on that a minute here. One of the big reasons why we're having you on the program, Kim, and we're going to have to take a break in about a minute. So, maybe we'll just kind of lead into the break. But, one of the reasons why we're having you on the program today is to bring awareness to Help Me Find and help them. Because, people don't realize there's cost. Even though this is run by volunteers, and even though there's, nothing to gain out of Help Me Find in the sense of like they're trying to monetarily turn this into a profitable company, there's cost. There's server costs, there's maintenance costs, there's application costs that come up. And so that's where that money goes in Help Me Find, right, Kim?
Yes.
And so when we get back from break, we're going to continue chatting with Kim Rupert about Help Me Find and about how you all out there can help this wonderful resource for all of this information.
Sure, do stay with us. And again, those on Facebook Live, questions, comments for Kim or one of us, so be sure to post it right there in the comments section. Got to take a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio. Do stay with us. Our guest this morning, Kim Rupert, talking about a lot of great things and information that we want to pass along to you. So do stay with us. Keep those eyes open. Keep your ears open. This is Garden America, wishing you a happy weekend. We have returned. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Thank you so much for being right there with us here on Garden America each week. Tiger Palafox, John Begnasco, I'm Brian Main. Welcome once again. If you're new to the show, we appreciate it. Keep on listening. Things get better and better all the time. Talking to Kim Rupert. Back to you, Tigers. We continue talking about roses and that great site.
Yeah, so before the break, we were just talking about the helpmefind.com website and Kim Rupert, who's a volunteer there, with all the resources for roses, clematis, and peonies. But they need some help to be able to keep this site up and running. People don't maybe realize, but to have a website, there's annual fees for servers, for applications, for
hosting it.
Keeping that domain name,
right.
All that kind of stuff. And since this has been a volunteer thing, and since it's been a thing that's been pretty much funded by the people that started it who want to be kept anonymous, Kim and the group over there is trying to make sure that they have enough funds to kind of keep going. Kim, so what are some ways that people can help out? Obviously, becoming a member is one thing, right?
Premium members for the $24 a year. Organizations and businesses can become sponsors. There are different levels of sponsorship that are spelled out on the website with annual fees and annual benefits. You can make donations. There are ways to make donations directly to the website. If you have some time and you like playing on the computer, we can always use volunteers in the rose section or the peony or the clematis sections. You get to learn quite a lot, and you get to enjoy the camaraderie of other people who are interested in the same things you're interested in.
Oh, how fun is that to be able to connect to people all around the world with a common interest? I mean, you're just sitting in your yard enjoying your flowers and your plants, and you have your local garden club, but it's like having a pen pal, and you can have, someone from France or, someone from Australia, and kind of be sharing that same interest. And you just being able to connect on that level has got to be so cool. Kim, as a breeder, before Help Me Find was around, so before, what did we say, 26 years ago or so, what was it that you had to do to get this information? I mean, was there anything out there for you?
Bev Dobson created a publication called the Combined Rose List, which is still operating under the very capable operation of Peter Schneider, where she collected catalogs from around the world, and using a card index, she listed every rose in every catalog available from every nursery that she could find.
Wow.
And each year she sent out a $24 paperback booklet which listed every rose with every source.
Wow.
If you wanted to know anything about those, you had to track down a copy of the American Rose Society's Modern Roses, which was like reading a dictionary. But it was all there was.
And that was 30 years ago, and it was $24, and it's still $24 on Help Me
Yeah,
Find.
it's so true.
No
I think
inflation
the first
there.
one I bought was like 10, but that's like 1982.
And also it was just a description, right? There were no photos, or there
No,
weren't.
no photos.
Yeah. So with the Help Me Find now, people
Right.
post photos, and the cool thing that we all know with roses and all the flowers that we're talking about, I don't want to get just on roses here, but the other flowers that Help Me Find has, is that we know that this flower grown in the shade will look different than this flower, or the same flower grown in the sun, or just catalog flowers aren't always what you get,
Right.
kind of a thing.
Like reading
But-
a Denny's menu.
Yes,
And you see the
Oh
pictures.
gosh, right? That steak looks so appetizing, but then you remember you're at Denny's.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
then
a
when they
steakhouse.
give it to you, is this the same picture of
Yeah.
what I just ordered?
But on Help Me Find, those
Right.
are real pictures that people are taking from their own garden, and those are pictures of plants from all over. So you're getting a real look at it, right, Kim?
Right.
Well, not only that, but there's a comment section, and you're getting people commenting on how that rose performs for them where they live.
Yes.
And you can look for someone who's in a similar climate and find out how it does. It could be that a rose in the Pacific Northwest or the Northeast may not be hardy and may not do well or may suffer from disease, but
Yeah.
Sure.
Southern California, it grows great.
Yeah, and it's so neat. I will say, for those of the listeners that have not been on helpmefind.com also, I think what we could be describing to them might seem overwhelming, might seem a little bit like, wow, how do I get in there? But it's a very simple format when you go to those website too. The front page of helpmefind.com, you pick roses, peonies, clematis. And then when you get into there, you have options for search. It's very user friendly. It's very easy, and it's because of the no ads. It's very easy to get around and know what you're clicking on.
It's a very clean website.
And
yeah.
because they're not trying to get you to buy anything, it just guides you the way you want. Meaning, if you're looking for a red rose, it guides you to the red rose. It doesn't try to redirect you into something that you don't want. So it's almost like an encyclopedia where it's only the facts, it's only the information, which make it great for people that are just looking for that, just information.
Well, if you are a premium member, you can search. You can put in criteria for your search. Like you were saying, Tiger, if you want red roses, you can search for red roses, or you can search by class. If you want hybrid teas, you can look for hybrid teas or old garden roses by their class.
Yeah.
My daughter in Idaho is watching, and she just posted a comment. I don't think I've ever seen a bigger smile on Dad's face than with this guest.
Yeah, because John, you're on there, all the time when it comes to finding roses.
Like Kim said, it's an invaluable resource, and basically it's free.
Yeah.
So, Carla in Huntington Beach posted, how can, do they accept donations? And Kim already said,
Sure, yes.
Yes, you can do that. You can go on and find out how to donate. But also, if you're not that into roses, what a great way to become involved by learning more about them. And you can do that for free if you want.
People always want to know what they look like, too. That's the important thing. Well, what does it look like? You can describe it, but when you see it,
Right.
a whole different story.
And, occasionally, Kim, I used to see somebody post the wrong picture of a rose. And someone will point that out. And I used to think, that's a negative part about Help Me Find, is anybody can post whatever they want. But I just got back from Europe and some of the great gardens in Germany and Belgium, and I got to tell you, I saw so many roses that were labeled incorrectly that I figured if a great rose garden can do it, certainly Help Me Find, which is all volunteer and being used by the public, can do it too.
And Tiger just put the link on our Facebook page. Those in the comments section, there you have it.
Yeah.
It is right there. Janice says that she uses this site many times a day. So a lot of people familiar with what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and we're talking about Help Me Find and trying to raise awareness for Help Me Find, but I think we would be remiss if Kim, is being one of the great rosarians of the world, if we didn't talk about who probably your most famous mentor was. And I wonder if you could tell us maybe just a little bit about your experience with Mr. Ralph Moore.
A long time ago.
In a land far, far away.
Two lovely friends from the Huntington Library, as fellow volunteers there, Judy Morgan Miller and Sharon Van Eno, grabbed me and said, "You have to come meet him." And we drove from Los Angeles to Visalia, and that started two little boys playing in the nursery. And for a lot of years, I was able to go and visit, and it was like, again, two little boys playing in the nursery, because I'd get there and he'd say, I got something to show you. And it didn't matter that he was decades my senior. It didn't matter that he was approaching the end of his 90s and the beginning of his century mark. It was off to the hinterland in the back 40 to go look at something that he had seen previously and wanted to show.
My gosh, what?
Yeah.
You know, I only met Ralph maybe 3 or 4 times, but I have to tell you, the graciousness of that man was something that was indescribable. And I know we've got to take a break coming up, right?
Yeah.
But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more with Kim Rupert about roses and how you can learn more about them.
So again, obviously, do stay with us. Those on Facebook, we do welcome your questions, your comments. Thank you for participating. And again, those on Biz Talk Radio listening to this pre-recorded show want to join us live every week, go to our Facebook page, Garden America Radio Show, and you can take part live each and every week. We'd love to have you. We are going to take a break, and we'll have more with Kim Rupert after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. All right, we are back, and those that are tuned in listening on Biz Talk Radio, this is the final segment of hour number 1. News coming up, top of the hour. We come back at 6 minutes after. Hopefully you can catch our show 1 or 2 hours or both. We do appreciate that, though. We continue. Been talking about roses, that site, Help Me Find Roses. Tiger's got the link on our Facebook page.
Yeah, and before the break, John and Kim were chatting about his Kim's experience with Ralph Moore and being able to kind of work alongside him. Now, Kim, is there, and I'm sure this is a tough question, but I mean, working alongside someone with Ralph's experience, was there something that he taught you that just still resonates today when it comes to rose breeding?
The rose will find a way.
Yeah.
People ask, well, what about the ploidy, the chromosome count? Don't you have to match? I asked him that question decades ago. And he says, I look at it because it's interesting, but the rose will find the way. And they do. Common wisdom is triploid. 3 sets of chromosomes creates infertility, except there are fertile triploids that result in some outrageous advances. And if you look at the ploidy on the Help Me Find website, you can search roses by the ploidy. And it's interesting to find out that many of the Griffith Buck roses were triploid, many of his good breeders. A number of Ralph Moore's roses were fertile triploids. Some of David Austin's roses are fertile triploids. Knockout to triploid.
Yeah, so that's I love it because when, usually people gather more and more experience, more and more knowledge, it's the more dangerous they are, right? Because like you're saying, like they tell
Yes.
you, oh, you can't do that. No, that's not going to happen. That's impossible. But then, like he said, it'll find a way. It'll work itself out. I mean, is it going to happen 100% of the time? No, but it still can happen. And if you don't try, you'll never know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What is there a rose in during the time that you were, kind of working alongside him that you were really proud of that either he helped you with or maybe you created at that time?
Well, he introduced my first rose, and I remember the call that evening where he asked what I wanted to do with it. And I said, well, what should we do with it? And he says, well, it'll never make you $1 million, but I think it's a good little rose, and we should release it. So he was the first to sell purple buttons, a dwarf, continuous blooming polyantha version of the Harkness shrub, Cardinal Hume. So it has dark red purple flowers, and it smells like red hots.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's interesting.
Are you describing like a spicy cinnamon kind of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Candy red hots.
Okay. All right.
Tiger, if you go to Help Me Find, you can search by breeder, and you can search Kim Rupert, and you can find all the roses he's bred.
Wow.
Which is a substantial number, I might add, for someone who classifies himself as an amateur breeder.
That's really fun. That's really cool. Hey, to kind of bring back to the Help Me Find, when and was the clematis and the peony something that the people that initiated Help Me Find wanted to did we know it started with roses, and then did their interest expand, or was this coming from other people that were involved in the website, like other volunteers or other?
I believe it was probably suggestions from volunteers and requests from site users.
Okay. So those would be kind of the other kind of two categories that people are interested in. There's there a lot of breeding in stuff in those categories as well?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
There
course. What a
isn't
silly
almost any
question.
plant category.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a practical question as a user of Help Me Find. Occasionally, I will find that a rose is missing, or there's a new rose that comes out, or a sport of a rose, and I would like to post that on Help Me Find. And usually it goes up, but occasionally it doesn't. Can you tell me, am I doing something wrong, or is it something that slips through the cracks?
Are you actually on the website and using the Add a Plant to Help Me Find as a premium member, or
Yes.
are you sending a request to have it?
No, I'm using the Add a Plant as a premium member.
If there has been an update and something doesn't link properly,
Mm-hmm.
then it may not have registered.
So-
Sometimes there are glitches. you
Yeah,
know,
I
but
can understand that.
when you have a massive piece of programming, all custom programming like this,
Right.
it happens.
Okay.
And there are updates, and there are security updates and server changes and such. So if it happens and you can't get it to work, roses at helpmefind.com will get it all solved.
And Kim, I mean, we do have to remind you that John, the first question you have to ask him was his computer on? Was it plugged in, John? And was it connected to the internet
Yes.
at that point in time? Because you can't upload anything to Help Me Find if you're
No,
not connected to the
a
internet.
friend has found a phenomenal sport of Julia Child, which looks like a David Austin rose.
Oh, my goodness.
And I tried to post it. I put up two roses at the same time, and one went up and this one didn't, so I'll try it again.
No.
Well, if it doesn't work, if you want to send me the information, I'll be glad to try it.
All right, I'll be
That's
happy
what
to
I do
that.
as a volunteer.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, so Kim, lots of great information, huge resource. So
Yeah.
for our listeners out there, viewers, followers, helpmefind.com. We've mentioned it on this show a number of times for information for people looking for anything regarding clematis roses or peonies. And so, please become a member, help support this. We cannot lose this resource, this database of information. And, also a big thank you to people like Kim out there volunteering their time to help keep this resource up and running in the efforts that you do. Kim, thank you very much for joining us this weekend. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend, and we will continue to share helpmefind.com and how people can help out. So thank you very much for joining us, Kim.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Yep, and obviously a topic that a lot of people who are tuned in are happy to hear about. A lot of good feedback this morning.
I mean, that's something that we've talked about on this program so many times that, again, it's just such a great wealth of information, resource. And, the nice thing about it is we feel we can send people there and know they're not going to get
The runaround.
yeah,
sure.
or try to get something bought or anything like that.
All right, we have to take a break to stay on time, to keep within the format of our friends on Biz Talk Radio. You have news coming up. We are back at 6 minutes after. We certainly hope you can catch the second hour. Again, this is Garden America coming to you each and every weekend from the iHeart Media and Entertainment Studios right here in San Diego, California. Back after the news, back even quicker on Facebook Live. Stay with us. If you're tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, welcome to hour number 2 for Facebook Live. There are no first hours, second hours. We keep on trudging right along from one segment to another, from one break to another. We're happy to have you along. It is us. It's John. It's Tiger. It's myself, Brian. John, let's talk about Costa Rica, shall we? Tiger, let's talk about Costa Rica.
We were just talking about roses. Now you want to talk about Costa Rica?
Unless you have some other things to discuss about roses, Costa Rica can wait. But I would imagine...
we can talk about Costa Rica. Lenore did mention, though, that she never knew about the site. And Lenore, who's been a gardener for years years and listened to our show, didn't know. So how many people out there don't know about how valuable this site is?
And I guess I could segue into, will we see roses in Costa Rica?
But real quick, I want to prove a point.
Yeah, let's backtrack here.
I'm trying to find some data. That's why I'm being quiet.
Okay. Go ahead, Tiger.
I don't get to say this very often, but John is wrong.
He challenged you. He was wrong to you.
The autumnal equinox is on September 23rd.
Oh, it is.
At 2:50 a.m.
Sometimes, let me make a defense here.
Go for it.
Sometimes I confuse in my mind the dog days of summer, which is August, with the autumnal equinox.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. The autumnal equinox is September
23rd.
23rd.
So the last day of summer is September 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so that'll kick off autumn, which will kick off our transition into cooler months. But
so then the geese really don't know what they're doing.
They're wacky, right?
They're just ahead of the time.
It's still August, and they got plenty of
time.
time.
Have you ever wanted to get someplace ahead of time?
The slow-flying ones.
How do we know they're not beating the rush?
Yeah, that's what I said. Maybe these are the slow-flying ones, and they're getting ahead.
Yeah, but then there's a phrase, "you silly goose," for a particular reason, right?
True. Yeah. What's good for the geese is good for the gander, John?
Is that gander?
I'm not sure what that means.
You never heard that term?
Yeah, I've heard that. Many times.
So you want to read what Carol is talking about on Facebook?
Carol says, I would love to see the sport of Julia Child. I assume that the wine-colored rose on the plant that I purchased was an accidental cutting that was rooted. But...
Wine color on Julia Child?
Well, she bought a rose that was mislabeled.
Oh.
Obviously.
Like we talked about.
Right. The sport of Julia Child is not wine-colored, so I think your rose probably was mislabeled, Carol. But I'm going to go get budwood for that sport today.
Ooh. So
it's something that we can put in the auction coming up. But also I'll post the information again. I have the picture, and I will put it on Help Me Find.
Perfect.
But I can't remember the name of the rose right now. The person who discovered it, I believe, named it after their granddaughter.
Oh, nice.
So either next week I'll know that information.
All right.
But hopefully we can put it up on Help Me Find for everyone to see, because it's usually a sport is a color sport of a rose. It just changes color. Mm-hmm. But this changed shape and everything. I mean, it really does look like a David Austin rose, and it's spectacular. So we will do that. Veronica, by the way, in Spring Valley says, Tiger, that the geese could be the harbinger of an early winter.
Yeah, that's what, they kind of know what's happening, right?
They know.
I think they're more in tune with things than we are.
Well, most animals are.
Right?
Very much tuned into what's happening from nature's standpoint. And here we go again, from nature's standpoint, to volcanoes and coffee plantations and monkeys and parrots.
Now we're talking Costa Rica.
And the ocean and hiking. And what is happening with Costa Rica, aside from the fact that this is something that a lot of our listeners and viewers are excited about?
Well, we've had a lot of people go to the website, and a lot of people already sign up for the trip.
Right.
And we are limited on the number that we can take.
Is it 38, I think?
But we don't want to cause a panic.
No.
I'm sure if you go to the website and find out information, you won't have any trouble.
Go to gardenamerica.com.
Gardenamerica.com. If you get the newsletter, there was a link in the newsletter. And we tried to make this an affordable trip, and we tried to make it a trip that anyone could go on, no matter your age.
Sure.
And one of the ways we did that was some parts of the trip might be strenuous, but on those particular days, we're offering alternatives. So you can either do this or that.
Right.
You can either take do the zip line down the volcano or whatever over the rainforest, and or you can do something less strenuous, maybe a little
Right.
riverboat.
You're
And-
not locked into doing everything. You can kind of
Yeah.
pick and choose what will suit you.
Exactly. And if you go to the website, there's a day-by-day itinerary,
Right.
right? And the number to call, you can call Colette and register for the trip.
So go to gardenamerica.com. Check it out. You have friends that might want to go, relatives, family, whatever. Bring them along. Again, we have 38 people that we can take. Don't panic yet, but don't wait too long either.
Right. I think we may be close to a third sold out.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
It's going to be this is going to be fun.
Yeah,
this
it will
is going to be a
fun.
good time.
And we have several people going who've been to Costa Rica before, and that excites me because if
Right.
you want to go back somewhere, it means you really enjoyed it.
Exactly.
And Tiger, it's your third time, right?
Have you ever stayed? And you might have, so I don't expect you to say never, but
It's not a rhetorical question.
Right, exactly.
in a hotel where when you look out the window you can see a volcano.
Let's see. No.
No,
The answer to that is no. I have never looked out my hotel window to see a volcano.
because you will be staying at a hotel that you can see a volcano on day 3 of
Now,
this
is
trip.
this an active volcano?
No.
So we're fine. We're
Yeah,
good.
we'll be okay.
We'll be okay.
But it's going to be really cool, right? To be able to kind of like be in this resort near
Right.
Arenal, and you look out and you can see the volcano
Right.
there. That's kind of like where we'll be doing some of the tours that we're talking
Sure.
about and being able to go up into the tropics area. But I mean, the trip is going to be amazing. All of the things we're going to see, but the one thing that I think people also like to know is where they're staying along the way. And it has these hotels. The hotels are absolutely gorgeous, great facilities, great locations, but they're just set in such a beautiful area as well. That was the one thing I liked about when I went through the hotel list of, the one on the beach is got this invisible edge pool overlooking the beach and absolutely gorgeous. The one near Arenal is, right near the base of the volcano, and you have these majestic views of the volcano.
Arenal is one of the names in the copy that I'm going to be reading.
Oh, yeah?
Remember I said before
Yeah,
the
yeah,
show?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a few names I want to make sure that I get right when I record
Yeah.
the commercial. Arenal is one of those.
Yeah, not to be confused with Arendelle, which was in Frozen, I think.
Yeah, Arenal. And by the way, our webmaster Daniel has put a link on our Facebook page, which takes you directly to gardenamerica.com to check out the trip.
Yeah, and on that page, it has the day-by-day itinerary, and it has the day-by-day locations as far
Right.
as where you're going to be staying.
You said the hotels are just amazing.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah, fantastic.
absolutely great stuff. I was also looking into where we're going to be going for the coffee plantation tour, because you remember years ago, John was interested in having coffee at his home in Fallbrook. And so it kind of like re-sparked my interest about coffee.
You meant growing coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't just interested in having a cup of
Yeah,
coffee.
no.
Out on the
And
porch.
growing coffee. Yeah. He's like, oh, what is it going to take for me to sit on my porch and have a cup of coffee?
Right.
But growing coffee at his home in Fallbrook. And it kind of sparked my interest into coffee again. And, why is Costa Rica a coffee place? We talked about when John was growing, like, oh, coffee can't grow in California and, stuff like that. And, yeah, it's tropical, like where you think coffee comes from. But also the Costa Rican coffee is different because of the volcano.
Right.
So because
The
a lot
environment, the weather, all
of
that.
a lot of the other areas that grow coffee are more tropical. But places like Kona and then places like Costa Rica, their soil with that volcanic soil makes it a little bit different. And then the winds, the trade winds that happen in Costa Rica also affect the flavor, I guess, of their coffee, that make it just that a little bit more different than some of the other regions that produce coffee, and it gives it a little bit different flavor. And I was like, wow, this is really neat. So just a little taste of some of the information that I'm sure
Sure.
we're going to learn while going around on our tour.
And I hope I can get a cup of coffee while I'm at the plantation.
You better be able to, right?
We
That'd be
got to
weird.
keep our energy level up. Hey, that said, speaking of energy, this has nothing to do with energy, but we have to take a break. So break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio. Then we're going to come right back, so do stay with us. Thank you for supporting our major sponsors, Fertilome, Plant Warrior, Root Warrior, I should say. PlantWarrior.com is the website. And, of course, Mosquito Dunks. Tiger has the logo right above my head on Facebook Live. We'll take a break. This is Garden America. It's exciting. We're back from the break. It's good to see you and you and you and you up there and you down there, tuned in on Facebook Live watching us.
Oprah impersonation right there.
Who was that
You
again?
get a car.
Oprah.
You get a car.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
And
I'm
you,
sorry.
And you and you and you.
Because before that, there was somebody, I think when I was a kid watching some kids show on TV, they would say that. And there's Johnny over there, and there's Billy and Michael and Susan, and there's Nancy. I don't know. Stop laughing at me, will you?
Yeah.
Shaking your head laughing at us.
I think we finished talking about signing up for our Costa Rica trip, but I see our friend Hastam has joined us from Pakistan.
Yes.
Oh, is he going to Costa Rica?
Well, I'm just wondering, do you have to be in the U.S. to go, or can you sign
No.
up if you're in anywhere else in the world?
You can sign up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and your flight would leave from your respective town or city.
Yeah.
There you
and
go.
then get to us in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We should mention that if you look at the price of the tour, that includes airfare. And
Yes.
if you don't want, you can get a substantial reduction if you supply your own airfare.
Mhm.
So if you have frequent flyer miles that you want to use.
But this also includes them picking you up at your home
God, I just can't believe that.
to the
You
airport,
really check that out?
Yes.
and then they'll pick you up when we get back and take you back home again.
Yep.
I'm
Wow.
not sure.
Door
So-
to door.
Can you
So
double
John,
check that?
Yeah, John's skeptical because that's where the added expense comes in, unless you book your own. But I mean, that to me, that's worth it.
I don't know.
You're going to pay an Uber, going to pay a cab, going to pay Lyft.
We'll have to see. By the way, Gina answered your question, Tiger, and said New Zealand.
What was the question?
The question was, have you ever woken up in the
Oh,
morning and
oh,
looked out your hotel window and seen a volcano?
And in New Zealand,
That's what
there
she
was
says.
one. Ah.
Dana says I was probably talking about Romper Room. When,
Oh,
about hello, I see you and you and you and maybe.
I don't remember who the teacher was on Romper Room.
Oh, I do. I can see her face.
Really?
Yes. I think there was a few though over the years, but there was one. She had dark hair, and you could be a doobie or a don't be. Wow.
Oh, I remember that.
Do you?
A do be or a don't be. And then who was the woman who had the puppets?
That was Sherry Lewis.
Sherry Lewis with Lamb Chop.
With Lamb
right?
Chop, and did she have another puppet or just Lamb Chop?
Oh, I don't know.
But
I
yeah,
can't
Sherry
remember.
Lewis. Yeah, I think every little kid had a crush on her. She was cute.
The Four Seasons had a song about her.
Sherry,
Sherry Baby.
1962.
Yeah.
Magic Mirror. Lisa, look at these people with those great memories. That's exactly what I was talking about. Thank you, Lisa.
I'm trying to see, did we miss any?
Make sure we're up to date on the comments and questions.
Yeah. I think we're pretty much up to date. One of the things I wanted to remind people of, because I always forget it, I mean, here it is August already, only a month away from the autumnal equinox.
Exactly a month. Thank you for clearing that up for us, John.
But I mentioned that I planted some daylilies that I got from Shiners. This is the month to plant bearded iris, at least in the U.S., in the Northern Hemisphere. And if you need to divide your bearded iris, this is the month to divide them. If you don't do this in August, you can still do it in September or even early October, but the odds are they won't bloom the
I was
next
going to say
year.
it's going to affect the growth pattern, right?
Yeah, they're just not going to bloom. If you do it now, you'll get bloom next spring. So either order bearded iris online, go to your local garden center and see if they have them in stock, or divide your own.
By the way, when the weather cools down a little bit, I think I do want to come up to your place and
Pull
dig
weeds?
around in the garden with you. Yes. I'll bring Dana up. She
Yeah.
can get together with Shannon
When the weather cools. Huh?
when the weather cools. I'm not a fool.
Oh.
So maybe December.
October's still pretty hot up there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's when
It's
the
fall
St.
though.
Anna winds blow
Yeah,
through there.
September and October are
Yeah,
usually
December
miserable.
sounds magical.
You know what? I'm going to be gone for a week in September.
You're going to the Grand Tetons.
Grand Tetons
Yellowstone.
and Yellowstone. And why don't you and Dana house sit for me, and you can water. Of course,
Be
then you'd have a
great.
long drive to
You know,
work
I
every day.
need to take a vacation, take a week
Yeah,
off.
Why not?
There you go.
That'd be awesome.
By the way, when you're in Yellowstone, be sure to hassle the buffalo and all other living creatures that you see. Get up in their face.
I like to ride them.
Sure, no problem. Bears, they won't hurt you.
Buffalo Bob, do you remember him?
Yes, Buffalo Bob.
Howdy doody.
That was before my time, but yes, I do remember who he
Was it really
who he
before
was.
your time?
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody made, Lenore made a comment that she was horrified by what was going on in Hawaii, Maui. The town of Lahaina burned. The problem there was
Yeah.
actually it was
They said there was a hurricane a couple of 100 miles south.
right. So you had heavy winds, like
Heavy winds.
80, 90 mile an hour winds, plus the dry time of the year over there. So, but the reason I pointed out is my daughter said, "Do you remember? You've been to Lahaina, right?"
Yes.
And Tiger, I'm sure you have too.
Mm-hmm.
There's the famous banyan tree there,
Yeah.
the world's
And
largest or something like
it was
that.
burned.
Covers like an acre, and I don't know if it was burned to kill it or will it recover.
That's their question, right? It was burned, but they don't know if it'll recover or not. Yeah.
I mean, one tree's like a whole forest.
Yeah.
Right,
Or,
exactly, right?
Right.
So anyway, wish well.
Yeah,
to the
prayers
people.
and thoughts to those people, to the island. Just
Yeah.
a horrifying situation.
Yeah, John wants to know when you plant daylilies. Yesterday is when I planted mine, John. And
Yesterday at 1:30, I believe, John.
you know, that's when it was hottest, so I planted them in the morning and in the evening. And he said, "Did they do well in Southern California?" They do unbelievably well, John. And the ones you want are the evergreen daylilies. You know, up north they plant dormant ones usually, but here you don't really want them to disappear, though the dormant will do fine too. But plant the evergreen, and if you go to Shiner's, and Shiner, John, is spelled Scheiner. That's a famous iris farm, but they sell daylilies too. You can look and see what they have available. They also group them by rebloomers. So daylilies used to bloom just in the spring. Well, now they have daylilies that will bloom all summer long. Oh, you pointed at me. I thought you meant you were going to take a break.
I thought I was. I'm looking at 2 clocks here. We're still fine. We've got another minute. But I'm looking at the other clock that has the time. I thought, oh my gosh, we're a minute, behind. But we're still good. And then Hastam, John, on our Facebook.
Well, he
comment.
says he's got the best time for budding roses in Pakistan. They're doing that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
So right now in August is the best time to do that. That's amazing.
He said they're going to have he says 40 colors. I'm sure he means 40 varieties.
Come to
right?
Costa Rica with us, Hastam. Come on, buddy. Let's
Yeah.
do Costa Rica together in April. Okay, now we're going to take a break. We've got 2 more segments coming up. I have so much to look at and think about. So, with that in mind, a break for Biz Talk Radio, and back after these messages. You're tuned in to Garden America. Back from our break, those on Biz Talk Radio, those watching us on Facebook Live, we do appreciate it. A lot of new faces, new names. We love that. And, of course, the old standbys, those that have been with us for a long time and continue to support Garden America. Go to our website, gardenamerica.com. Check out Costa Rica. Check out the website. Check out the articles. It's a great experience, and it does, of course, help us in terms of the analytics and those people who do visit us. This show, by the way, as with every show every week, will be uploaded on our YouTube page, Garden America Radio Show. By this afternoon, you can rewatch this show, rewatch any show, fast forward, pause, do whatever you want to do. And with that, because of the expression on John's face, I'm going to say, what's up, John?
No, I was just going back to looking at all our romper room comments, and Gina mentioned that this was Tiger's nap time.
Well, that's good. Yeah, right?
But they took naps on that show, right?
Yes.
You would think that would not that would be terrible on the radio.
You're right, nap time on the radio?
Yeah, but
we took naps in kindergarten. We had to bring our rugs in from home.
I remember that, yeah.
You know what they did the very first day?
Is this a TV show that you just watch people take a nap on?
No, I'm talking, no.
Yeah, on Romper Room, they took a nap.
They took naps. But in real life, in my kindergarten class, didn't you bring a rug in to take a nap?
I don't remember, but I know
and then there was the morning
still
class.
do that.
There was the morning class and the afternoon class. But here's what I recall the very first day. They took all the boys and girls into each other's bathrooms. So they said, okay, boys, this is the girls' bathroom.
You remember this?
Yes. You've seen it? You've seen it? Good. Now there's no reason to ever go in here again. This is what it looks like. Which was pretty smart.
That is clever.
You know, and girls, this is what their bathroom looks like. You've seen it. No reason to go back in.
It was a mysterious place,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, wow. What's
no,
going
I
on?
They had
thought,
couches
I thought
in there.
you flunked kindergarten because they caught you running with the scissors pointing the wrong direction.
No, I think I ate too much paste. You know, you were allotted so much paste to eat.
I remember
You went
kids
over
eating
your-
paste.
Yeah, paste. Yeah, what was up with that?
It's because
I don't know.
they used to make it with, like, it wasn't, it was like sweet, remember?
Yeah, I think
paste,
maybe did it.
it
I
was
tried it, but I didn't
starchy or
like it.
something.
I didn't like it.
Hey,
Stick to the roof of my mouth.
Lisa says that she's looking at her box of iris that she got from Shiners last week.
Iris. Ooh.
Yeah.
How about,
That's what they're known for. I think it's called
Iris?
Shiners Iris Gardens.
Nice.
But now they've got a great collection of daylilies. And they have one, I'm trying to think of his name. Is it Marriott? But anyway, a particular breeder that's got some phenomenal daylilies.
Nice.
Daylilies, by the way, the year they come out are extremely expensive.
Oh, like, you mean if it's a new introduction?
If it's a new introduction, and by extremely expensive, I mean anywhere from $100 to $300 a piece.
Wow.
And then next
And after
year,
a while, the price goes down.
the next year they'll be maybe half the price,
Right.
and then 10 years from now they'll be
everybody
down
has them.
around $10 to $20.
And it's just because of production, right?
Yeah, because the only way you can get a new daylily is by
Division.
dividing it, right?
Yep.
So if you come out with a new plant, you have to keep divide. I mean, you start with one,
Yep.
and then you've got to divide
going.
it. It's not like roses where you can, like Kastam was saying, they're budding roses in Pakistan.
Yeah.
It's not where you can take a stem and cut off
Yeah,
10
sure.
buds and have
Or,
10 plants.
Succulents, you just take off every little piece and just drop it on the ground,
Right.
and they go. So, yeah. So that's, What other plants are division purely like that? Because you say daylilies can only be divided.
Thai constellation.
Right, is another one.
Philodendrons.
But because they can't do the tissue culture.
Right.
Because that's another way you could, but they can't do the tissue culture on those. So like what agapanthus,
Right.
is that only by division too, or they can do tissue culture on those?
I think that they're also by division. I'm not
Okay, so they have
positive.
to start with one and then just keep going and going.
I'm not really sure because I know that our buddy Ping Lim has just come out with a new agapanthus called Atomic Bloom.
Uh-huh.
And that you can buy at Home Depot now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's either Home Depot or Lowe's, I forget. It's the only one.
Okay.
One of them has an exclusive on it. And it's a reblooming agapanthus. But there's thousands and thousands of them being sold.
So
that,
how did he get from one
that
to
one
that?
might be tissue culture. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Because it's interesting on how some plants you can do that and on other ones you can't. And then, like you say, you just take time. Thai constellation is just one of those plants that It's slow growing. You can only produce it by cuttings.
Yeah.
And so therefore you start with a cutting, but you can't cut that again for years to get a new cutting. So, in order to have that from a grower standpoint, you have to have these mother plants that you're constantly clipping off, but they don't replenish themselves anytime soon. And then it makes it more expensive.
I would say it's not always, but frequently that's true with variegated plants. And one of the reasons is that a lot of variegations, not all, but a lot are caused by a virus. And when you tissue culture, you remove the virus from a plant.
Okay.
They do that with roses to, sometimes roses will be virused. And if you take buddings or cuttings off a rose with virus, you still have the virus in the plant. So the only way to bypass that is to go through tissue culture.
I might be wrong, but the tinge on the foliage for the roses, the red, did you say that was that same kind of problem, like a virus? The red, you know how like foliage on roses, you can get real green,
right?
And then there's some with some red in it. Is
red
that
or hot pink?
Yeah, is that a virus thing, or is that different?
No, some of them are viruses.
That's what
also.
I thought you remember you saying. Because I thought of that as I thought that was just a normal rose thing. Like some came out red, some came out green.
Yeah.
I just didn't even connect it but it's kind of like a variegation, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And because they don't all have that red look. And then that,
Well,
I love when you talk about like the
if you're
dull
talking,
sheen.
I may have misunderstood. You're talking about the new growth when it comes out red?
No.
Okay, because some new growth on roses comes out red.
Right. No, I was talking about more of like the older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you're just talking about before, like the dull rose leaf versus the glossy rose leaf.
I love the glossy. I'm all about glossy rose leaf.
Yeah.
John knows that. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's just so
But
nice.
it's just such a funny preference for people and particular look of a plant. Like I might look at a rose and be like, that's a very pretty flower, but I don't like the plant because of the leaves. Because of
right,
that,
yeah.
And
Sure.
Some have like not only a matte color to the leaf, but a light green rather than a dark green.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just don't look healthy.
Well, what plant? Your variegated podocarpus that just looks always anemic, right? Like that's what we talk about. Sometimes those variegations, like the variegated lavender.
Yeah.
Great idea. I love lavender, but the variegated lavender looks like a lavender that hasn't been fed in 8 years.
Yeah.
Hey, couple things here. Veronica wants to know if there's a good source to show her how to divide iris. Help me find.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
YouTube.
Yeah.
They have helped
YouTube.
me find on the mind.
Yeah.
But go to YouTube, Veronica, and just go dividing bearded iris.
Right. Yeah. That's
Hey,
where
but-
all the instruction manuals are now these days.
But I will say, the other cool thing though, if you want more of a maybe more reputable, if you're kind of concerned, is what was the company that you just listed right now?
Shiners.
Shiners.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Shriners.
I know like Horn, Canna, and those resources, those people put out their own videos and they post them on their own websites. And a lot of times the cool thing about watching them from an actual producer, because on YouTube you might get the person that is not saying anything wrong, but sometimes they're connected to a particular product
That's a good point.
or fertilizer or something
Right.
like that, right? But if you actually go to some of these producers of these plants, though, like I remember Dave Wilson, excellent resource for
Right.
videos on fruit trees, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't get this feeling of you were being sold something. You were just getting the knowledge from the orchard of itself.
There was no bias, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
And it's kind of cool to be able to kind of see. Sometimes they'll even give you like the little behind the scenes of how they do it, which is great as well for the home gardener to kind of see like, oh, I didn't even think about that aspect of it. So if you're trying to just get a little bit different perspective on it, look into those companies because they have their own how-to tutorials and stuff like that.
Okay, John, we are coming up to a break, and I know there's a couple of 2 or 3 comments we want to get to. So our final segment is one of our shortest ones, so we're going to take a break right now. Stay with us for those on Biz Talk
We'll
Radio,
talk
those
fast.
on Facebook Live, and we'll get to all these after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Welcome to Garden America. How about that if you're tuned in on Facebook Live? That's a quick break, not even 5 seconds. Those on Biz Talk Radio, a bit longer because we have many, many fine sponsors that have the great information you need and want to hear about. John?
Tiger made a point of going to professional websites, and that's true because my wife was watching YouTube yesterday, and there was a woman showing you how to root succulent cuttings, making these little combination planters. And, I watched it for a minute as I was walking past.
And you got disgusted.
I just told my wife she has no idea what she's talking about.
Well, that's the thing. When you go to these YouTube channels, for the most part, let's say you want to find out how to hook something up real quick, whatever the case might be. They spend the first 10 minutes being a radio or YouTube star.
Yep.
It's like, dude, get to the point. You know, we're not really here to watch you. We want the information. So, yeah, that's
very true.
That's another instance where you might want to be very careful.
All right. Questions?
Yes, questions, comments.
Questions.
John, what do we got?
Let's see, was it Lisa or who was it? It was Lisa. She said that her Aunt Sue also said their crepe myrtles haven't bloomed yet.
And she's talking, Susan Allied Gardens, I think, too, as well.
Yeah. And because we had such a cool,
wet, cloudy
winter and spring.
Right.
They're late in some areas. Now, Lenore said hers are in full bloom, but she's in canyon country.
where it's 115.
Yeah, so it's really hot. And Tiger planted 3 crepe myrtle trees at my house this spring. And they were big trees, right? 15-gallon when you put them in. And so we had no blooms at all. And Shannon and I were talking about, maybe the first year they won't bloom. But I was in the back of my mind, I was thinking, they're pretty big trees. And they still haven't bloomed, but they're loaded with buds right now. A lot of buds. So it's just because of the heat. Crepe myrtle, some like it hot, Brian. And,
Great movie.
Yeah, and they're one of the ones that like it hot. So the same thing, and we've talked about plumeria.
Yep.
My plumeria, I have a few just beginning to leaf out.
I have one that's bloomed very well the last couple of 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the one I sent you, just barely coming to fruition, there's still really nothing there.
I have some that I think, Tigers
Tigers
teased me before, but the ones I showed you when you were up? There wasn't even a leaf coming on those.
No. And it was weird because, like John mentioned, when they rot, they'll rot from the bottom up. And these ones were problematic from the tip down, which, you had mentioned cold.
Yeah.
But they're on a slope. They're on a good exposure side. And you don't have other problems with your other ones freezing. So it's like, why did these ones freeze? If that's what the case was, then the other ones didn't. So just weird. Yeah.
No, that's
going crazy.
It's just starting to bloom.
Yep.
Should hold it up to a
Yeah,
camera.
that's the one that I thought was a bromeliad when you sent me the picture of it. Doesn't it look like one?
Yeah, I thought it was a sea urchin.
Hey, Dave up in northern Michigan, Brian, wants to know if that banyan tree that we were talking about on Maui, if because of the root system, if it'll come back.
Now, was the consensus that it should or may come back or not?
Well,
we don't know.
My daughter was the one who first told me about the tree burning. And so I said, I just texted back, I wonder if it'll come back. And she texted back, yeah, in about 100 years. So I don't know if it does come back, I'm sure it would come back from the root. But if it does come back from the root, I think they might just go through and dig it up or replace it.
Yeah.
But if the wood itself, if the tree itself is still alive, it'll just relief, and that's what I guess only time's going to tell.
And you want to know, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but talking about this, and when I read the article on the banyan tree there, do you remember that interview we did a while back with Bonsai?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like that, right? Where you said it'll come back possibly from the root. That means there's going to be these dead parts, because they're going to stay dead of the tree, but then there's going to be these live parts that come up into it. And so it'll be this mix of dead and live growth. And, that when we were learning about bonsai and how that's sought after, like you want to have that dead part, live part, all be part of one. And then, those bonsais that they dug up, were, very old specimens and stuff. And it's, what did they weather their time that they got to go through all that too?
You can't really make a bonsai out of a banyan that covers an acre.
That covers the whole town.
The whole island.
Hey, in the world perspective, it's a bonsai.
In the world, in Hawaii, is the pot.
Yeah, exactly.
The pot that it's in. Well, anyway,
A couple of minutes to go.
Yeah, we hope that
we
tree
hope,
comes back.
Absolutely. Good morning, Mike. Thank you for joining us. It's interesting. Now we're getting a lot more people tuned in toward the very last part of the show.
Everybody's waking up.
Yeah, waking up. Hey, I think the show's on. We got 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Hey, but if you missed the show, like I said,
can
right?
replay it.
Go to our YouTube page, Garden America Radio Show. You can watch this show, watch it back this afternoon. Hey, like and subscribe while you're there as well. And, of course, we've got our Facebook page.
Do we have time to answer a question?
Yes.
From
yes, you do.
Hastam wants
We
to
do.
know about osmanthus tiger. He says he's in a hot area in Pakistan, and their osmanthus dies in the summer.
Oh.
And they keep it in a shady place, too. But he wants to know, should we avoid watering it during the summer? Should we shade it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, rice flower, right? Osmanthus? Rice
No,
flower.
well, I don't know. That's Ozothamnus.
Oh, okay.
Osmanthus is the false holly.
Okay.
Quickly, we have to roll here.
Yeah, I would say definitely I would put up, if it's that hot in the summer, I would put up shade cloth.
Okay.
And you need to keep it watered, but not, it's not growing, so don't overwater it because you get a combination of the heat and the water, and it's just not going to do well.
And then last little note, don't water in the middle of the day. Not that I know directly that will be affected, but John and I have both learned when we water our very low water plants in the middle of the day, sometimes that kills them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And those people that joined us late, thank you. Better late than never. You caught a couple of minutes of the show. We appreciate that. So for the entire team, the entire crew here, I want to thank our webmaster, Daniel, John Bagnesker, Tiger Palafox. I'm Brian Main. Have a safe rest of your weekend. We'll be back here reconvening next week, right, John?
That's right.
Right here on
Get
Garden
growing,
America. And again, for those on Biz Talk Radio, you as well, thank you for tuning in each and every week to Garden America. Take care.